Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be talking about S-Force. Now S-Force is a deck that has seen a lot more play recently. And it's a deck that I never got around to finishing, but I do think that I have enough of the components that the deck functions. So I want to show you guys what the deck looks like if you go through the box twice, so you can see your potential if you go through the box 3 times. For the skill, we are playing Reinforcements. Can be used each time your life points decrease by 1500. Return 1 card from your hand to your deck and draw 1 random warrior monster. The only warrior that we are playing is S-Force Rappa Chiyomaru. So we will always draw our Chiyomaru if we've taken some damage. This is very important for us to continue to combo and pull through the deck. For the main deck, we have S-Force Rappa Chiyomaru. Now, all S-Force monsters have an effect that allows them to impact cards in their columns, monsters in their columns. So for S-Force Rappa Chiyomaru, each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters can only target that monster for attacks. This is very good when you combine it with the field spell. As a quick effect, you can banish 1 S-Force card from your hand, doesn't have to be a monster, return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon 1 S-Force monster from your deck in defense position, except S-Force Rappa Chiyomaru. So, Chiyomaru is a very slippery card. You can't Book of Moon her, because she can respond to that. You can't Warning Point her, because she can respond to that. You can't Compulse her, because she can respond to that. You can't Crackdown her, she can respond to that. You can't even really Ice Dragon's Prisoner, because she can just respond to that as well. The primary way to out Chiyomaru on your opponent's turn is either to have a monster negate on the field, like for example Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon, or Effect Veiler. And Effect Veiler isn't even really that much of an answer. It will stop your opponent from setting up on their turn, but they can just pass if they think that you have Effect Veiler. If you're stalling on a card, they can just say, oh, he has Effect Veiler, and end the turn, because Effect Veiler can't be used during your turn, and then they just Chio on your turn. So this card has a lot of really powerful plays. S-Force Lapswell. If this card is special summon, you can target 1 S-Force monster in your graveyard except Lapswell and special summon it. You can banish 1 S-Force card from your hand, destroy all of your opponent's monsters in the same columns as your S-Force monsters. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this is a very powerful effect. First of all, you do get extra columns. Every time that you special summon, you are putting more monsters in more columns. For a 3-column board, that's very useful. And it's a Raigeki. Is Raigeki good? Yes, Raigeki is very good. Especially if you have Gravitino out, because you can then banish everything your opponent controls. So you only need 1 of this card. It's a level 6, so it's kind of hard to use otherwise, but I definitely recommend this card, and I think that it's one of the better options that's made S-Force so powerful recently. S-Force Platina. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as your S-Force monsters loses 600 attack points. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 of your banished S-Force monsters except Platina and special summon it. You can only use each effect of S-Force Platina once per turn. That's a good effect. It allows you to very easily get out any of your banished monsters and make your combo more wide, and that's what you care about. You care about a wide board. That's why a lot of people run Ties That Bind with this deck, because they understand that they're not really going to make the extra deck that much, not because the extra deck monsters aren't good, but because you give up columns by doing so. So they want to make sure that the field has the best effects. I feel like Reinforcements is required if you only have 2 copies of Chiyomaru, but if you have 3, then Ties That Bind might be the better skill. S-Force Gravitino. If this card is summoned, you can add a S-Force card from your deck to your hand. This will usually be your Bridgehead if you don't already have it, or your Chase if you do. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters is banished when it leaves the field. So that's if you bounce it, that's if they Synchro Summon, that's if they Link Summon. The only way that they can get a monster off their field without it being banished is using it as Xyz material. This will allow you to impact a lot of decks that require cycling, like Orchist. Your opponent links their monsters into Galatea. Well, they're banished. Galatea can then try and return 1 of them, but they don't get to use the effects of those monsters first. So Nightmare, Orchist Nightmare going to the graveyard, not going to help them. Or Harporer going to the graveyard, not going to help them. That really impacts the cycle that Orchist has. And then if you remove Dingirsu from the field, it gets banished. They can still World Wand it, but they can't Symbol Skeleton it. So Gravitino messes up a lot of decks, and it functions very well. It will especially punish a lot of Synchro decks. Lastly, we have S-Force Edge Razor for the monsters. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot be used as material for the Link summon of a Link 3 or higher monster. This is basically the only way that we can beat Crusadia, and we do have to go first and summon basically a monster in both extra monster zones, so that the Link 2 can't be used as material. If this card is normal special summon, you can special summon one S-Force monster from your hand in attack position except Edge Razor. So, the full combo is you have Edge Razor, you have Chiyomaru, and then you have Gravitino. You normal summon Edge Razor, you special summon Chiyomaru, Chiyomaru banish Gravitino, special summon Platina, Platina special summon Gravitino from Banish Zone, draw S-Force Chase. Now you have 3 monsters on the field. Your opponent's monsters are banished when they leave the field, your opponent's monsters lose 600 attack points, and your opponent's monsters can't be used as Link material for the Link summon of a Link 3 or higher monster. Then you also have a Banish 3 on their field, set face down. So this is a very strong combo. It will be very difficult for your opponent to get rid of all of your threats, and especially they will have a hard time building the board through S-Force Chase. And S-Force Chase is an unlimited rare card, so you can use it as much as you like. So that's the main form. Now, that board does also let you make Justify. That's also how you make Justify, in case you're wondering how you make Justify with 3 monsters. It's difficult, but it's definitely worth it. We can talk about Justify in just a minute, but that's kind of how you make the deck. For the spells and traps, we have S-Force Bridgehead. When this card's activated, you draw an S-Force monster. When an opponent's monster declares an attack on your S-Force monster in the same column, you can activate this effect. That monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. You can only use this effect once per turn. So if you have Chiyomaru out, your opponent has to attack the monster in the same column, and then they attack into it, you activate Bridgehead, the monster is not destroyed. So that will allow you to stall out a little bit and get some extra resources. This card is good running at 3. I'm playing Terraforming. If I had 3 Bridgeheads, I would play Reinforcement in the Army instead of Terraforming, which again would make reinforcements less needed. So that's probably the optimal list, but this is what I've got. S-Force Showdown, activate one of the following effects. Special summon an S-Force monster from your hand in defense position and target an S-Force monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. You can only activate 1 per turn. This is a card that I would cut for one of the other URs. It's fine. It'll let you get a Link 3 out, but that's not really necessary. Compulse works the same as S-Force Chase. It is nice to be able to answer your opponent's board if you get Darkhold. And banishing a card is much better than returning it to the hand, so Gravitino really upgrades the power of this card. It's basically Karma Cut for free, so nice. Reinforced Truth, special summon a level 2 or lower warrior type monster from your deck. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. So, special summoning Chiyomaru from the deck during your opponent's turn is extremely disruptive. And the best part is, they can't really remove this card. They try and MST this, they try and Nightmare Phoenix it, you just activate it in response, there's no problems. You bring out your Chiyomaru, then you just have Chiyomaru sitting there, ready to either power up your S-Force Chase even more, or bounce yourself to bring out your Gravitino in the middle of the turn, in a zone that you choose. The flexibility of having Chiyomaru summoned to your opponent's field in the middle of their turn is very, very high, because it allows you to surprise them with a zone that they weren't expecting. Maybe you need to bring out the Edge Razor in a zone that has a Link 2 monster. Maybe you need to lower your opponent's attack points. Maybe you want to special summon another monster from your graveyard. All of these are really good options to trigger during your opponent's turn. The last card is S-Force Chase. Target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of S-Force monsters you control with different names and return them to the hand. If an S-Force monster you control would banish cards from the hand to activate its effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. Each effect is once per turn. So the fact that S-Force Chase can only be used once per turn does make it slightly worse. Like if you set 2 of them and your opponent's, you can't fire off one of them right away. You do need to be conservative with it. It also means that you can kind of not care too much if your opponent destroys one of them, since you have probably another one set. The fact that they can combine with compulsory evacuation device is what makes the deck so powerful. You just have so many ways to bounce and disrupt your opponent. Realistically, you only need like 1 or 2 monsters in your opening hand, and the rest can be traps. That really makes it difficult for your opponent to play the game. It's a long game, don't get me wrong. S-Force is not a game where you're usually going to win on turn 2 or turn 3. You're usually going to win on turn 5 or 6, but you will win way more often than you lose, simply because you're so good at playing a long game and dragging the game out. For the extra deck, we have Wind Up, Arsenals, and Mayo. This requires 2 level 5, so you make it with 2 Gravitinos. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 2 set cards on the field, and destroy them. That's great. The only thing that we're really missing in the deck is the ability to destroy spells and traps, so this is an answer for that. Nightmare Unicorn, same thing. It also deals with the E-Bell. Cerberus is fine. Phoenix is fine. Also deals with traps. Brood Enforcer is kind of iffy, but there's not really a whole lot of generic extra deck monsters that we have access to, so it's a good tech card for weird situations where you need to get rid of a specific card and your opponent doesn't have any cards in their hand. Security Dragon, bouncing is what we do all day, every day. And Pentastag for dealing with any defense position monsters. Then we have our main deck monster, S-Force Justify. Requires 3 effect monsters, including an S-Force monster. You cannot special summon or set monsters to zones this card points to. That doesn't matter. That's just to make sure that you can't extra link, which we can't extra link anyway. As a quick effect, you can target 1 face-up effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn, then you can move that monster to a zone this card points to. You can only use this effect once per turn. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can banish all monsters this card points to. So, Justify is extremely good for dealing with a very wide board. Let's say your opponent has 3 monsters, all in their main monster zones. S-Force Justify can attack, you can put S-Force Justify on the left, attack the right monster, and then banish the other 2. Because it points to both those zones. Banish the one in front of you, banish the one in the middle, attack the one on the right. The one on the right gets destroyed, the other 2 get banished. You've cleared the board. So Justify is really, really strong. It's not a bad card by any stretch, and the ability to negate effects is also very good. The problem really is that you're giving up 3 really good monsters to make it. So the quality of the main deck monsters really holds Justify back, is kind of the issue. And there's also, in Master Duel and in the real game, there's more of a chance for you to actually get the triple banish off. You can't triple banish in this game, but the effect of S-Force Justify to banish 3 monsters as opposed to 3 monsters on a 5-card board as opposed to 2 monsters on a 3-card board it can't be understated. Like, the ability to just take 3 monsters that probably have higher attack points than Justify, take them off the field, and ignore their destruction and their targeting protection is really, really strong. We're not at the point where Justify is needed that yet, but this card will be very, very good when the quality of monsters goes up. Alright, let's get into the replay. It is time to smack some 10E players. Set 3 and pass. Alright, so we activate Reinforced Truth. This will allow us to special summon our Rapid Chiamaru with our Edge Force Razor, so now our S-Force Chase can return 2 cards. Opponent's going to special summon Adhara, then link it off into Monk of the Tenny. Activate Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. So the opponent activates Vessel. I'm going to immediately compulse here because Vessel doesn't choose its effects until Resolution. So by removing Monk of the Tenny from the field, the opponent will not get to add a monster to the hand because they won't control an effect monster. They chain with Heavenly Dragon Circle. That does let them special summon from their deck, but again, they didn't get the benefit of the draw, so I'm fine with that. They send Chthana to the graveyard, and then they link Ashuna off into Monk of the Tenny. Special summon Vishuddha from hand, and now I'm going to go ahead and fire off my S-Force Chase. This will get Vishuddha off the field. Vishuddha can't be normal summon because it's level 7. Ashuna can't be triggered because the Monk is now off the field, so the opponent does not control a non-effect monster. They have 1 card left in their hand, and they pass. Alright, so we activate Rapid Chiamaru's effect. We banish S-Force Chase from our graveyard to special summon Gravitino from the deck. Gravitino's effect, draw Bridgehead. It's our turn. We activate Bridgehead. We get another Edge Razor, and attack for lethal. And there you go. So, controlling the board, getting rid of 3 threats, forcing the opponent to play suboptimally, and still ending with nothing, while we were able to extend even further because our trap card acted as an additional card in our hand after we've activated it. That's the power of S-Force. Slow, methodical deconstruction of the opponent's board while also building up your resources and going in for the finish. My name is Sarafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.